Some stories are just so simple, but their message, it's so powerful, it just sticks with you. Today, we're going to unpack the timeless lesson of one of those poems, Somebody's Mother, and really explore how a few simple lines of verse can be this incredible guide to kindness and empathy. So, the poem just throws us right in with this really stark and immediate image. When you read those lines, you can almost feel the cold, can't you? We're immediately introduced to this figure of vulnerability set against a really harsh winter background. The poet is so smart about setting this scene to really establish the woman's fragility. Every single detail is chosen to put her loneliness up against this cold, indifferent world. It really shines a light on how easily the elderly and the vulnerable can get marginalized and, just left to fend for themselves. And look at how the details are just layered on top of each other here. The street isn't just cold, it's wet, which means it's slippery and dangerous. She isn't just old, her feet are aged and slow. Every word is picked to make us feel her immediate danger and her physical struggle. Okay, so the poet uses just one word, ragged. And think about how much that one word does. Her clothes aren't just old, they're torn, they're shabby. This immediately tells us about poverty and a life of hardship, all without needing a single sentence of backstory. I mean, talk about efficient storytelling, right? So the woman's vulnerability is crystal clear, but her real struggle isn't with the winter storm. No, it's with the storm of people all around her. And this is where the poem gets really sharp, offering this commentary on the indifference of a modern crowd. And this right here, this is the real heart of the problem. She is physically surrounded by a throng of people, but emotionally, she's totally alone, uncared for. It's this awful irony of city life, being lonely in a massive crowd, basically invisible to the very people who should see you. And this image, wow, it just captures that feeling perfectly, doesn't it? You can feel the energy of the schoolboys, so happy that school's out, they're just bursting with life. But they're completely oblivious to this quiet, anxious woman waiting just a few feet away. So, how does the poet describe this group of boys? Well, by using a classic little literary tool that gives us a much deeper look into their sort of collective mindset. Like a flock of sheep. I mean, that's such a powerful comparison. It gets right to the heart of what we call bystander apathy. Sheep just move together, right? They don't have a lot of individual thought. This suggests it's not that the boys are mean or malicious, but that they're just caught up in this group mentality, this kind of collective blindness where no single person feels like it's their job to step up and act. But then, just when you think she's going to be stuck there forever, the whole story turns on a dime. One person breaks away from the flock, and in that moment, absolutely everything changes. And just listen to how gentle this is. In the middle of all the crowd's laughter and shout, this one boy paused and whispered low. He doesn't make a big show of it. He quietly offers to help, and he gives her the choice. It's such a simple, respectful, and just profoundly kind act. I love this next part. The poem gives us this beautiful contrast, describing how the boy guided the trembling feet along, proud that his own were firm and strong. This isn't just about old versus young. It's a powerful picture of strength supporting vulnerability, of stability offering a hand to fragility. And it's really important to understand what proud means here. It's not arrogance, not at all. He was grateful. He felt this sense of purpose, his young heart happy and well content, because he was able to use his own strength to make a real, tangible difference for someone else. So that brings us to the big question, right? Why him? Why did this one kid stop when nobody else even seemed to notice? What was going through his head? See, the poem doesn't just show us the kind act. It pulls back the curtain and reveals the motivation behind it. We've got all the pieces. A woman in need, a crowd that doesn't care, and one kind boy. So what's the engine that makes it all work? Well, the answer is in the boy's simple explanation to his friends. And there it is. That's the heart of the whole poem. When the boy gets back to his friends, this is what he says. He doesn't see a random stranger. He sees a connection. He sees somebody's mother. And that's it, right there. That's the whole point, empathy. It's that ability to look at a total stranger and see a reflection of someone you love. The boy helps because he's hoping that if his own mother were ever in that situation, some fellow will lend a hand. What's so cool is how this one small act starts this ripple effect of kindness. The boy's action, which was born from empathy, inspires the old woman's prayer that night. And she doesn't just pray for him, but for somebody's son. Kindness just ripples outward, creating this beautiful, interconnected web of humanity. Okay, let's geek out for a second on the way the poem is built, because it's actually super important to its power. The simple AABB rhyme scheme and those consistent four-line stanzas give it the feel of a folk song, or maybe a universal truth that's been passed down for generations. This structure isn't just to make it easy to remember, it makes the moral of the story feel fundamental, undeniable. Simple enough for a kid, but profound enough for an adult. So at the end of the day, this is way more than just a sweet little story. It's a principle for how to live, a lesson that's just as relevant today as it was the day it was written. The poem really makes you stop and think about that phrase, lend a hand. What does that actually mean? It's about more than just physical help. It's about offering a connection, recognizing our shared humanity, and making the choice to act while everyone else just passes by. And that's why the title is just perfect. It isn't called The Old Woman or The Kind Boy. By calling it Somebody's Mother, the poem makes its characters universal. She could be anyone's mother. He could be anyone's son. And in them, we're supposed to see ourselves. It actually reminds me of something Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, that the true strength of a nation isn't its wealth, but the character of its people. The boy in this poem is a perfect example of that character. His small, empathetic act is the very foundation that builds a society's pillars deep and strong. So the poem doesn't just end. It kind of leaves us with a challenge, passes the baton to us. Because it isn't just something to be read, it's something to be lived. As you go about your day today, who are you going to notice at the crossing? Who will you see not as a stranger, but as somebody's son, somebody's daughter, somebody's mother?